If you want to learn how to become a medium and communicate with the spirit world, you're going to want to watch this full training till the end. I'm going to do a class right now. This is going to be a longer video, but stick around because my intention is to get you to a place, or at least to where you understand how to have an undeniable flowing conversation with any spirit whenever you want. Okay, so as you come into this training today, let me know where you're watching from, introduce yourself. I'm going to talk about the two things that hold people back more than anything. And the last piece is where the puzzle's going to click together. That last puzzle piece is going to click into place, and this is all going to make sense. So make sure that you watch this till the end, because that's how you're going to get the most out of it. By the end of this training, you're going to understand exactly what's holding you back and the steps that you need to take in order to communicate with the spirit world at that level that I'm talking about, that undeniable flowing conversation where there is no doubt, right? Because when you first start doing this, we're full of doubt. And, it makes it really hard because we don't know if it's our thoughts. We don't know if it's a spirit. Was that really a sign, or am I making this up? And so all of that doubt comes into place. And so I want to show you how to eliminate and get rid of all of that, okay? Because the simple fact of the matter is that spirit communication is easy. And if you're having a hard time, it's not because it's hard, all right? It's because you've been lied to about what it actually takes, okay? And so I'm going to talk about that too. I'm going to talk about a lot of the misconceptions that are out there about spirit communication, because a lot of these beliefs and things that people follow are the only things that block them. A lot of times people think that there's something wrong with them. They have some sort of spiritual block. There's some sort of external force. Their emotions are stopping them. The status of their life is stopping them, or all of these other things are preventing them from connecting with the spirit world. But that's not really true. It's the steps and it's the beliefs that we have about spirit communication that can block us more than anything else. Okay, so welcome on in. Welcome on into this live mediumship development training. Okay. This training is going to be for two types of people, okay? Number one, this is going to be for the person that's out there that has tried everything. You've tried to connect with the spirit world. You tried to connect with your loved ones. You've been trying to connect with your spirit guides, and it's all kind of surface level. You do make a connection maybe, but it's random. You have no control over it. Sometimes it'll happen. Sometimes it won't. You have a difficult time meditating. You've tried to, read books, take courses. You've watched tons of videos, and you feel like you've done everything and you've hit a dead end where nothing has worked, okay? We're going to fix that, all right? I'm going to show you today why nothing has worked. And hint, here's a little clue. There's nothing wrong with you, okay? It's the information out there that's, the old way of spirit communication. And I'm going to show you the new and easy way to connect with the spirit world, all right? The other type of person that this training is going to be for is somebody that's just coming into this, right? Maybe you've been dabbling around. Maybe this thing has got your interest. Maybe you've retired and now you have more time on your hands to kind of dive into this. You want to know what happens after this life. You want to know, find more meaning and purpose in your life, right? But as you explore, there's all of this information that's hitting you, right? And you don't know who to trust. You don't know what information to listen to. It's all different. It all contradicts itself, and it's just coming at you and you're feeling overwhelmed and confused. This is for you. Okay, this is for you as well, because this is going to be practical. Okay, this is going to be actionable. We're not going to talk about spiritual theory. We're not going to do any of the stuff that, like meditation. None of that's going to happen here today, because if you don't know who I am and you haven't seen me before, my name is August Gonsalves, and I teach people how to communicate with the spirit world without all the woo and mystery, okay? And so we're going to strip all that stuff out of here because it doesn't work anyway, and we're going to get you connected with the spirit world, okay? When I say undeniable flowing conversation, I really mean that. It's not something that you have to trust, right? You know how you hear all these spiritual teachers, oh, you have to trust what you're getting, trust that what this is coming through, and I always had a problem with that. Like, why do I need to trust what I'm getting? Shouldn't it be so real that it's right there and I don't have to trust anything? I believe it because it is my reality. And so that's what I want to show you how to do here today, okay? So a little bit about myself. I want to tell you how I got started in this, because it's a really good story, because I didn't believe in any of this, right? And I want to tell you my story because if I can do this, anyone can, right? I'm the furthest person that you would think that would be connecting with the spirit world, on that level and teaching people how to do this, okay? And the reason is because I didn't grow up having these experiences, right? I didn't even believe in the spirit world. I didn't even believe in spirit communication. I, wasn't even a spiritual person. I didn't really even think about what happened after death until my mid-30s when I had a spiritual awakening. It was the craziest part. It was the craziest point of my life to this day. Okay. I had this awakening. What happened, it was an ending of a relationship, and it was a really difficult period in my life. Okay. And I remember one of the days, it was probably the worst day of that period in my life, where I'm sitting in my living room and I'm just going through it. I'm raw emotions, having a really hard day. I look over and there's two spirits that have physically manifested themselves in my living room. One of them was like 8 foot tall, blonde hair, dressed in this like all white robe. I mean, angelic looking. And another one was like this 4 foot blue looking spirit, right? It looked, it was blue and it's translucent. It looked more like energy than kind of any kind of human form. And so there they are staring at me, and I look away and I'm like, I'm losing my mind. This isn't real. This isn't real. This isn't real. Okay. And I look back over and they're still staring at me. And the big tall one leans forward and goes, no, we are real. And we need to talk to you right now. And I was like, no way. I jumped up off my couch and I ran out of my house, and I was absolutely terrified. Not terrified at the spirits because of the spirits. I was terrified because I thought I was losing my mind. I had never experienced anything like that before. And so, because of what I was going through in my life at that time, I was in therapy. And so I called my therapist, the only thing I knew what to do. And I said, listen, today was a rough day. This is what happened. I don't know what's going on. I need some help. And so this was towards the end of the day, and luckily she had some availability. She said, come on in. And so I came in, told her everything that was going on. This is a licensed mental health counselor. This isn't like a life coach that's got a certification or anything like that. No hate to anybody like that. But this is a traditional mental health counselor, had gone through all of her years of school and training and stuff. And I sit down and I tell her all of this stuff, expecting to be committed. Okay, expecting to end up in a psychiatric hospital. And she looks at me, she goes, after I tell her everything, she looks at me, she goes, I don't think you're in psychosis. I don't think you're losing your mind. I think that you're having a spiritual awakening. And I had never heard anything like that before, okay? And so my reaction was like, well, how do I stop this? How do I get out of it? And so that's when she started to explain to me what was going on, what a spiritual awakening was. She started talking to me about mediumship and the spirit world and energy and, all of these different spiritual concepts. I had no idea what they were. Okay. And so it turns out that out of all of the therapists that I had interviewed at that time to be my therapist, I pick one that is full on spiritual. Okay. You can't make this shit up, right? The universe will definitely get you in front of the people that you need to be in front of. Okay. So anyway, so we talked for a couple of hours. I felt a little bit better understanding what was going on and realizing that I wasn't crazy, that this was actually something cool and real. But it was still very uneasy for me. And so I ended up going home that day or that evening, and the spirits weren't there, at my house. I couldn't feel them. I couldn't sense them. I didn't see them. And so I ended up settling in and going to sleep. I wake up the next morning, okay? And this is where it gets weird. This is where it really gets weird for me. I don't see the spirits there, but I can feel them, all right? I feel them, and I feel how much they love me. I feel how much they care about me, and I feel how much they just really, really want to help, all right? And I'm like, wow, this is it was such an amazing fear. I never have felt love like that before, all right? Outside of my children. Okay. So it was this really like overwhelming, overpowering sense of love. Felt really, really good. And so I get up and I'm getting ready and I hear them talk to me. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on? Where are you guys? And so they start talking, right? And I'm hearing them crystal clear. And so I start talking back to them. I'm like, what's going on? Who are you? Where are you? Right. And they start introducing themselves. They start telling me they're my spirit guides. They tell me that they're here to help. They want to do all this stuff. And so we go into this conversation and it's just flowing. I have no idea how it's happening. I have no idea how I'm communicating with these beings, but it is just going, it is flowing without any kind of effort. It's just like you and I sitting here talking, okay? Just as easy as I'm talking to you and somebody would be talking back to me. That's how this conversation is going. And so anyway, so they have me go get some stuff to write with, and for 3 days I channeled these I spoke with these spirits and these spirit guides, and I filled up like 4 or 5 notebooks full of notes, all right, with like the craziest stuff. I still go back and read some of it, and I'm like, my mind's blown, and a lot of it has to do with it. Most of it had to do with me. All right, and my past, with things that were going on in my life, things that are going on in the future that are like actually happening now, right? That I had no idea, I didn't believe at the time, okay? And so also during these 3 days, this 3-day period, as I'm connecting with these beings and as we're having these conversations, every person that had ever passed away that I had known up until that point came and visit me over the course of 3 days. All right. And it was really awesome, right? They came, they're like, what's up, August? How's it going? This is what we're up to on the other side. We kind of been checking in on you and other family, and this was what's going on. We really wish you would tell them this, and they should, right? And so it was very informative, right? And it was like this reunion and it was very cool, and it was beautiful. And it was the most amazing 3 days, okay, that I've had. And I felt so connected and so alive, and so like this whole new world opened up to me, right? I was seeing spirits. I was connecting with spirits everywhere. I was working, I had a real estate office at the time. I would, some of my employees that were there, their loved ones are there. I'm seeing them, walk through with them. And so it just was this amazing, wonderful experience. Like I said, this whole new world had opened up to me. And at the end of these 3 days, I go to sleep, I wake up the 4th day, and it's all gone. Silence. Like I can't hear them. I'm talking to them. Nobody's saying anything back. I can't tell what's going on. And so I thought that they were just like maybe taking a break, helping somebody else. I didn't know what was going on. I was trying to connect with some of the people that had come and visit me, my loved ones and friends. Nothing was working. And so it was like that. I was trying for like not knowing what I'm doing. I'm just like, hey, I'm talking in the air. Hey guys, come back. Where'd you go? What did I do? Hope I didn't piss you guys off, and I'm just talking out into thin air, because that's what I did before, and we were having conversations. And so, anyway, 2-3 days go by, and I'm like, man, I got to figure this out. I got to figure out what happened and how do I get this back? And so that's the day that my spiritual journey actually began. Okay. I had my spiritual awakening, lasted a few days, and then my spiritual journey began. And so what happened is I dedicated myself. I started researching, I started reading, I started trying to figure out how to connect. Right. And so I was online, I was reading books, I was going to conferences, I was going to spiritual events, I was doing it all. As a matter of fact, for the next 2 years after that, I literally flew around the world, going to spiritual events, going to different things, going to retreats, working with people. Like I dedicated myself to this. I worked directly mentoring with, many of the big mediums that are out there today that, they have TV shows, have written books. I've worked directly with them. I went over to, the UK. I studied at the Arthur Findlay College, which is a world-renowned psychic and mediumship school. Like that's the holy grail. Like that's where you go. It's like Hogwarts, okay? That's where you go to learn your magic, okay? And, that was like, I was like, this was towards the end of my 2 years where I went there, and I was like, okay, I'm going to get this. I'm dedicated. Let's go. And, I spent 2 years doing all of this stuff, everything, literally everything, right? And like the last thing that I could think of to do was go to the Arthur Findlay College. And so I'm flying back from the UK, coming back home to the States, and I'm thinking to myself, this has been a pretty crazy journey. I've had a lot of fun, met some cool people, but I'm still not able to connect with the spirit world like I was those 3 days. Yeah, it's random. Yeah, it happens. There's some fluff. There's some stuff that goes on, but it's not like those 3 days. And that's what I needed. That's what I wanted. I didn't want this random connection. I didn't want to have to meditate. I didn't want to have to go through these processes, right? And then make the connection and then it's just all fluff and nothing specific, right? I want that flowing conversation back. I don't want the symbols, right? And so I was really discouraged, right? In full disclosure, had I not had those first 3 days, where those spirits manifested, I definitely would have given up. If I was somebody that was just like, spirit communication is cool, I want to go learn how to do it, and I hadn't had those 3 days, I definitely would have given up here because I did everything. Everything. I can't stress that enough, okay? And so I was really discouraged and I'm like, man, I wanted to give up. I was like, I just can't do this anymore. I don't know what else to do. And suddenly this light bulb moment I had, it was like, well, August, it was like this knowing. It was like, you're just going to have to figure it out on your own. And so I got back home and I was like, well, how do I even do that? Right? Like I'm on this 8-hour flight. Like, how do I even do that? How do I figure this out on my own? I'm racking my brain. I get home, I'm home for a couple of days and I'm just like, I'm just going to throw away everything that I've learned these past 2 years. And I'm just going to figure out. I'm just going to look at those 3 days that I had. I'm just going to analyze. I'm just going to go through and repeat those 3 days, those first 3 days over and over and over in my head again. And that's what I did. And I did it for weeks, right? For weeks. It wasn't even just me analyzing. It wasn't me going over it in my head. I literally obsessed for weeks about those first 3 days. How was the information coming? How were they talking to me? What was I feeling when I was talking to them? How did they get the information? How did they know what I was saying? Where was I standing in my house? What was I feeling in my body? What emotions were there? What was going on in my day? What was I thinking? I was thinking of everything. I was obsessing those 3 days, every little piece. I walked through it in slow motion, half a second by half a second by half a second, sitting there looking, it was insane. All right. And so towards the end of those first 2 weeks, after I had been obsessing that much, I was like, I just need to try this, even if I feel like I'm making it up. I just need to try it because I need to have a new experience. I need something else to think about. And so I tried to connect and nothing happened through the whole thing. I felt like I'm making it up the entire time. And I'm like, I'm in my head. I'm just making this up. And then I heard that voice again. That's like, we haven't gone anywhere. And I was like, whoa, where was that? What happened there? Right? And so now I had a new experience to analyze. Okay. And so I started to think about that experience and what it was what it felt like as I was in my head making things up. And then that last piece that came through was we haven't gone anywhere. That felt totally different. Okay. Than the prior connection when I was all the way in my head. And so that's where I had the insight of oh, it has a lot to do with feeling and I just need to keep trying. That was the little insight that got me started. Now, this is where the work really began. For the next 9 years, I literally beat my head against a wall trying to connect every single day, pretty much all day long. All right. And what was happening is that I would go and I would have an experience. Okay. And then with that new experience, I'd be able to analyze it. I would get another insight and I would go and I would apply that insight and I would go a little bit deeper in the experience the next time. And then I'd have this new experience that I went a little bit deeper in. And so I would analyze that and I would have a new insight. Okay. And then so that's what I did for 9 years. For 9 years, I just did that, blood, sweat, and tears. And then I'll never forget the day. I was at home. I was laying in bed. I was just going through the motions of what I had learned because I'm like tracking everything, right? I'm writing down what I'm doing, what's working, what's not working. And so I have like a log. And so every time I would go to connect, I would get a little bit further, a little bit further. So over those 9 years, I was connecting pretty well. All right. But it still wasn't like those first 3 days. And so I remember like the last time where everything came together for me. I'm laying in bed and I'm going through the things, I'm connecting, and then boom, there it is. Spirit guide standing right in front of me again, right? It's this time in my mind's eye. I'm seeing him in my mind's eye. And they're like, yes, you've got it. We see you. We know you're connected. I'm talking to them. That flowing conversation is back. It was like this last piece of the puzzle clicked into place, ultimate clarity, boom. And I've had it since that day. Okay, it hasn't gone away. All right, it was like this ultimate piece of clarity, and so now, like, yes, I'm able to connect with any spirit whenever I want, and that flowing conversation is back. That is a reality for me again. Okay, and like I mentioned in the beginning of this, I wanted to tell you this story. I'm not here saying that I'm special. I'm not saying that I'm different than anyone, or I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal to say that like I'm this special person with these special gifts. No, no, I am no different than any of you. We are all the same. We all have these abilities. I don't use the word spiritual gift. I say their abilities because everyone has them. I've been doing this for a long time now, and I've never seen somebody that wanted to come into this and do it not be able to. All right. And look, the coolest thing of all of this is, yes, cool. Now I can connect with the spirit world. And let me tell you, it is amazing to be able to connect with my loved ones and friends who have passed, right? We connect with each other anytime we miss each other, right? When I miss them, I reach out, and a lot of the times they'll pop in and just surprise me throughout the day, which I love. I invite that in. I'm like, yes, come surprise me. And so I get a lot of surprises throughout the day sometimes of, some just friends and loved ones jumping in just to say hi. All right. And so I'm also able to connect with my spirit guides, okay? And it's like there's these professional team of spiritual advisors that you have to run and bounce things off of and talk about information, talk about spiritual concepts, that are just, it's just amazing, right? We have this infinite amount of spirit guides. We have this infinite amount of spiritual team, right, that we can call on at any minute. And it's just really cool to see the different kinds of spirit guides that show up when you ask for them. And so that part's really cool as well. But I think, probably the what I enjoy the most about, coming into my spiritual abilities and really taking the time to figure this out and through the exploration and through the trial and error is that I'm able to like explore freely now spiritually. Right? I don't need to go ask somebody, what does this mean? How do I do that? Right? What is the afterlife? What's the ninth dimension? What happens here? What are the Akashic records? What is this? What is that? How do I explore this? I don't have to ask anybody about that now. I don't have to read about it. I just go in and connect with the energy that connects us all, where all the answers for everything exist. And so I'm just free to explore consciousness, free to explore spirituality. And I want the same thing for all of you, because I think that is one of the coolest parts. Yes, connecting with your loved ones is amazing and is wonderful, but you can really take things to the next level when you are free to explore spiritually without being attached to anyone else, without having to ask anyone for permission, without having to ask anyone for answers, because it really will transform the quality of your life. And that brings me to the next thing. I remember I was people ask me all kinds of questions about my spiritual abilities and spiritual abilities in general, and I got asked a question about about me and like what developing my spiritual abilities, what has changed in my life the most because of that. And that answer was so easy, even though I hadn't thought about it until I was asked. The number one thing that has changed in my life since developing my spiritual abilities is my quality of life. Because now I just tune into my own energy and the energy of my life when I'm making decisions, and it never fails. You are going to make better quality decisions. You are going to create better quality opportunities and relationships because you are so attuned to energy and your own energy and the other energy that interacts with you. Okay. Like, for example, if I ever have like a decision to make, I feel into the energy of that decision because that decision has an energy and I feel if it lines up with my energy or not. Okay. And if it doesn't, I'm on to a new decision. And so I'm able to hold and look at the different decisions. And not only that, but look down the road into what happens when I make that decision and the other decisions and things that are going to happen down those roads, right? And it just kind of like spirals out. And so you get so much clarity. And because of that, your life really improves, right? You start to walk on your path with certainty. There's meaning and purpose in your life. You tune into why you're here and what your life's purpose is, and you start taking actionable steps in actually achieving it, okay? So, those are all the ways that my life has changed and my students' lives have changed, after coming into their abilities, for example, I want to tell you a quick story about one of my students. Okay. And this is about how spirit communication, how you can use it practically, right? It doesn't have to be this woo woo. My loved ones, they came for a visit and now they're gone. No, you can actually bring them back into your life. You can have them in your day to day again. And quick story about one of my students who did this. This was a woman that came into that interviewed for my mentorship program. She needed to connect with her husband. Like, she had just lost him like 3 months prior to interviewing for my mentorship. And she was like, when we met, she's like, look, August, I am so sad and heartbroken because of my husband's passing, but I want to deal with that later. Right now, we had a family business. I handled the sales and marketing and he handled the day-to-day operations. He ran the factory. They had a factory facility. And he said, this business supports, we have 100 employees. It supports all of them and it supports my family with our kids. And it is failing because I don't know what to do. He did everything. And so it was like this 911 situation. And so I was like, cool. So we went right to work, right? And our first time working together, she connected with him. She was there, boom. And he came through with fierce too. He was like, boom, strong. Like I felt it, like I woke up, right? And, I felt him come in. And so she starts talking to him and she's like, first, like the emotion comes through. She's like, wow, oh my goodness, this is really real. I feel you. You are right here. And he starts talking and he's like, look, honey, I love you. Let's talk about that later. Like, they were very practical people in this session. She was like, look, I love you. We'll connect. We'll talk about that later. But right now you need, and he starts telling her all of this stuff. And he told her about this huge expense that was coming up on a contract renewal. Like, we're talking about like tens of thousands of dollars that was going to happen in 3 days that she had no idea about, that they could cancel on this contract. And so he told her about that. He led her to a stack of invoices that were tucked away in like this side desk that they don't usually go there, like $30,000 in invoices. He started to tell her about operations, different types of vendors that were late on things. Like, he took 30 minutes and like broke it all down. She's taking notes. She's writing it all down. And so anyway, it literally saved her business. It literally was what she needed right then and there, saved their family business. And then, we continued the mentorship, and now I get emails from her all the time. And she's like, we run the business. He's back to the day to day. Of course, I'm the one that has to make the phone calls now because he can't do it anymore. We hired another operator to come in and take my position. And she's like, I'm doing what he was doing under his consultation. And so he is leading her in the business, and now they've also reconnected, and, they've continued that personal part of their relationship too, at home, doing the things that they love, going the places they enjoy, having their morning cup of coffee, keeping each other's company on the ride to work or the ride home. And so yes. And so this is like, it can be very practical, right? It doesn't have to just be this quick visitation. You can actually bring them into your life, and you can, have these opportunities like you had when they were here, because they still are here. They just don't have a body. And so I want to just check in with everybody, make sure that you're asking questions as I go through this, right? Make sure if we're not on the same page, I want to, I want to answer some questions. And so I'm going to go to the comments for a real quick second, and then we're going to move on. I really want to get into this training. We're just getting started. We're just warming up. I've got some awesome stuff lined up for you guys. You're going to really enjoy where we take this. And I just want to remind you, stick till the end, because this is where you're going to get the most out of it, right? Like I told you, after that 9-year journey where that piece of the puzzle finally clicked and everything took off, that's what we're going to do at the end. But I got to go through some stuff so it all makes sense first. And then that puzzle piece is going to click and it's all going to snap together. Okay. So let me see what you guys are up to. Hey, Jill, Roxanne, how are you? Maureen, welcome. Jasmine, hello. So yeah, I see. So a lot of you are already connecting with your loved ones, but you're wanting to go deeper. Yeah. Dawn says she could feel them. Yeah. Fleur, hello, how are you? Sometimes I think he's touching my fingers and toes and like a tingly, is that how it feels? Yeah, absolutely, Sunshine. That's actually how a good way to gauge this. Like, one of the things that we can really experience when we're in the presence of our loved one are tingles. All right. It's like their energy interacting with ours, and our bodies give this like physical sensation. And sometimes it'll be a lot of the times it'll be the tingles. That's a very common one. There's many, many other of those as well. Which all of that will make sense too as I go through the rest of this. And so, listen, guys, do me a favor though. If you're enjoying this so far, and if you are excited to connect with the spirit world, do me a favor. Just drop a comment. Everybody that's watching this right now, just go to the comments and say hi. Because the more that you interact with this, live, with this video, the more the algorithm's going to pick it up and push it out to other people. So do me a favor, just go drop a hi right now in the comments. Make sure that you're liking the live, and it really would mean the world to me, okay? So let me get a quick drink of water. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. It really helps other people get the information that needs this as well. Okay. So listen, here's the thing. Oh, real quick, before I see somebody in the comments that the link is not working in this video. You'll be able to go to the comments. If the link isn't working in this video, go to the comments. There'll be a link in the comments. And if that doesn't work, go to my main profile page and the website in there. That link will take you to where you need to go. Okay, that'll take you to the interview page. Okay. So hopefully the link is working. I just saw a quick comment. I wanted to mention that. And I'll explain more about that link and all that stuff. Don't even worry about it right now. But I just wanted to let you know how to get it. So listen, here's the thing that I want to stress, okay, is that spirit communication is easy and anyone can do it. And if you're having difficulty, it's not because it's hard. It's because you've been lied to about what it takes to do this, okay? You've been told things like you have to meditate, right? How many of you are like so frustrated with this meditation? You can't meditate at all, or it's so, it's so all over the place. You find it difficult to meditate. And when you go to somebody and ask them, how do I connect to the spirit world? They're always like, the go-to is like meditate, or you have to open and balance your chakras. You have to imagine this light coming through. You have to have these crystals. You have to use this pendulum, tarot cards, all of these things, these modalities, and these things that you have to do. Well, listen, that's the old way of spirit communication, okay? The truth is, the new way is simplicity. Spirit communication is way easier than all that stuff tells you it is. There is no process, there's no anything. You can just go right into it. Just like I'm standing here in front of you right now, you can stand up and start talking to the spirit world, start talking to your spirit guides, start talking to your loved ones. I mean, right out of the gate, right? Immediately connect with your intuition, get that powerful knowing of what you need to do in that situation, have that download of your purpose, know exactly what it is, and step out and start walking on it. You can get that now instantly by going right into it. You don't need it. The new way, the easy way, the way that I'm going to show you today is simplicity. Okay? Because here's the thing, I've been teaching this for a long time. Okay, I've been doing this for quite some time. I've been all over the world lecturing. I've held workshops. I've done everything. Okay, I've done a lot, and uh, I didn't always believe that everyone can do this. Okay, I wasn't sure at first. All I knew is after I had connected with my own abilities, all I knew is that it was amazing and it was working for me. And I would talk about it, and me talking about it was actually helping other people connect. They would come back and be like, August, we did those things you were talking about and it's working for us. And people were like, you got to teach this, you got to teach this, you got to teach this. And I didn't want to. I wanted this just for me. I wanted it for for the amazingness of what it was, to be opened back up to this whole new world. I did not have any plans on teaching this. And I didn't even know if I could. I didn't even know if it would work for anyone else. Okay. At that point, it was so new to me. I didn't even know how it was all happening. I just knew how it was happening for me. And so here's the thing. I started teaching this. All right. I started to do weekend workshops. I started to, hold events. Okay. And for those of you out there, I know before you start getting in the comments, I know you guys are going to be like, well, when's your next workshop? Where are you doing it? How do I get involved? Where are the tickets? I don't do any kind of live workshops anymore. Everything that I do is online. Like, I'm going to jump online. I'm going to give you guys videos. I'm going to do all that stuff. And the work that I do with my students, with people, is through my mentorship program. Out of all of the stuff that I've tried, the weekend workshops, the speeches, the lecturing, out of all of the stuff, especially the workshops and the courses and the classes that I used to do, I have found the biggest impact that I can have and the most success that I can help others have is through my mentorship program. So I took all of the stuff that I learned from my workshops and stuff, how I worked with people, the best ways, and I packaged it together in my mentorship program. And that's what I do now. I only work with people through my mentorship program. Not to get off on a subject, but if that's something you're looking for, you're looking to work with me, you can schedule an interview for my mentorship at the link in my bio, okay, or the link in the comments, or the link on my profile. You'll find a link somewhere for my interview around my social media. But anyway, so going back to like the workshops that I was doing, okay, I just needed to clear that up. Going back to the workshops that I was doing when I first started teaching this, I wasn't sure that I could teach everybody. I knew that certainly some people would pick it up because I was talking about it and people were. And so I held my first workshop, and I was doing them for, about a good year and a half. And the method that I was using, it was a weekend workshop that I was doing that I had really perfected at that time. And the format was the first day of the workshop. It was 2 days. The first day of the workshop, we would talk, we would set intentions, we would talk about why we're here. And then I would do a lot of instructions. It was like a 10-hour day. These were 2 10-hour days. They were very long. Okay. I packed a lot into these. And so it's one of the reasons why I have my mentorship now, when it's not such a time crunch. But anyway, so that first day was instructional. And then the second day was like this hybrid group individual working with me. like type thing where I, I would start the experience by helping everybody connect as a group. And then I would walk around and start helping those that were struggling getting connected, right? The workshops were usually between 20 and 50 people. So if I'd see somebody struggling, I'd walk over to them and I'd start helping them and I would get them there. It would take anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes a person to help them really start to get connected before it took off. And so, a lot of people didn't even need my help. Okay. But the ones that struggled, I walk in. So that was the format. We started the group experience and then I would walk around and help people. And so I remember this was probably like the 5th, 6th workshop, somewhere around there that I did. And that first day we were going around and we were talking about our experiences, talking about why we're here. Everybody was saying a little piece of why they were there. It was like the intro piece, the first hour of the workshop. And I remember we got to this guy in the back, right? And he was like, "Look, August, I don't mean to be a dick, but here's the thing. I don't believe in any of this. And even if it was real, even if people could do this, I don't think that you could teach anyone how to do it." And I was like, "Oh, cool. Well, thank you. Why are you here?" And he was like, "Well, those 2 people over here, they drugged me here. These were some friends of mine. We're looking for something to do this weekend, and they said that they wanted to do this. We did my thing a couple weekends ago. And so I'm here because they want to do this and I'm a good friend and I'm supportive. And so I'm just going to go through this, but nothing's going to happen. I think this is all nonsense." And so I was like, "Well, look, I really appreciate your honesty." And I do. I really appreciate bluntness. Even if people think it's going to hurt feelings, I would rather you tell me how you feel than beat around the bush and sugarcoat things. And so I told the guy, I said, "I really appreciate that." And I said, "Well, look, if you're going to be here all weekend, you're more than welcome to go hang out in the back and sleep. Sit on your phone, watch TV, whatever you want to do. As long as you're not disruptive, I don't care. That's fine. But listen, if you're going to be here, you might as well try and participate. And listen, I'm not here to change your mind. I'm not telling you that you got to believe stuff. But listen, what if this is something that you can do, that people can do, and you're missing out on it?" And I see him, like his eyes opened up and he was like, And you could tell he never thought about that before. And I said, "Listen, I'll make a deal with you. If you want to really participate, genuinely participate, and try to do this stuff, just set your beliefs aside for the 2 days that you're here. Don't worry. You can pick them back up when you walk out the door and you can still think this is all nonsense if you like. I don't want to change that, And so I said, but since you're here, give it a try." And I said, "I'd make a deal with you. If you really try and nothing happens, the last 15, 20 minutes of this workshop, you can come up here to the front and just make fun of me the whole time and make fun of all of this." And he was like, "Deal." He's like, "Let's do it." He didn't even hesitate, right? He was a funny guy, right? He was a funny guy. He was a nice guy. He was very polite. He wasn't negative in any way, but he was direct. Okay. Which again, I said I appreciated. And so he was real funny. He was like, "Yes." He's like, "Definitely, we'll do this." And I was like, "Cool." And so workshop begins. We do the first day. We go into the second day. All right. And, we get started with the group experience and he's struggling, right? He's just not getting it. And I know that I'm going to have to go over and work with them. And so we get started. It takes about 30, 45 minutes for me to get everybody started. Everybody gets started. And I start working with a couple of people that are kind of like on the fence. They're like almost there, but not really. And so I start working with them first because I know this guy's going to take some of my time. And so I work with 2 or 3 people and then I go over to him. Right. And I'm checking, as I'm working with these people, I keep looking over at him and he's trying. The guy is really trying, which I was surprised that he was doing. And so I get done working with the first 2, 3 people and I walk over to him and I sit down. We all sit cross-legged on the floor on pillows and stuff. And I sit down next to him. He's like, "Look, August, I am trying, dude. I am really trying to do this. Okay. I don't want you to think that I'm bullshitting you. That I'm just going to go through this and just so I can make fun of you." He's like, I'm not. I want to have this experience. And I said, "Okay, cool. I'm happy to hear that." And I said, "All right, cool." And we start working together. right? And I'm helping him. I'm working with him for about 5 minutes. I feel his mother come in, right? And we're working together. He's starting to sense it, right? And after about 10 minutes, he sits up, he takes a big breath of air. He's like, she's here. And I put my hand on his shoulder and I said, go ahead, my friend. And like he started to, you could see tears running down his eyes as I'm walking away. And so I start working with other people the rest of the time. You know, a couple hours go by. He's having this like intense experience. There's these tears flowing from him. You could see him smiling. I mean, it was this very deep, big experience this guy was having. Okay. And so fast forward to the end of the workshop. Once we have our experience of it, the format we do is we all leave, we get something to eat, and we come back. Well, he didn't want anything to eat. He said, I just want to stay here. And, you know, and we were in a big place, and we were like, okay, cool. And so his friends brought him something back to eat. And so we all return after we get done eating. And what we do is we all share our experience and we process, you know, because as you can imagine, there's a lot of emotion that comes up. And so we'll process and we'll talk about the experience, and I'll help people move through if there's anything else stuck, or, you know, and stuff like that. And so we come back from eating, and, you know, everybody's sharing, we're talking, and this guy's just sitting in the back. You know, he's got this glazed over look on his face, like he is just so shocked and surprised. All right. And so we're talking, you know, and I'm helping everybody else, and we're sharing our experiences, and we get done with somebody, and he stands up immediately, and he stands up after that person. He's like, August, I got to share. And I said, okay, cool. What's going on, man? And he goes, first, I want to thank you for inviting me to put my beliefs aside. Like, he's like, when you told me, what if I'm missing out on something if this is real? Like that really, well, the first thing that I thought, he's telling me, the first thing that I thought of was my mom, and that she had passed when I was a young kid. And that's what I thought of. It was like, okay, if this is real, I want to connect with my mom. That's the only thing I care about. And he goes, thank you so much for offering that to me, for putting these beliefs aside and for saying that. He said, because I connected with my mom, and it was such an undeniable, amazing experience. He's like, I was a young boy when she passed. I had so many questions. There were so many unresolved feelings. She was such a big part of my life, and it was just detrimental to me when I lost her. And he said, we were able to talk. We were able to catch up. I got answers to those questions. He's like, I actually got closure from her death.